Have you ever found yourself asking the same question over and over again? Why me? When will things change? What should I do now? We spend hours, sometimes years, chasing answers in people, books, and places. But what if the truth has been sitting quietly inside us all along? The question you're struggling with isn't your enemy. It's a doorway to your own wisdom, your own growth, your own breakthrough. Because sometimes the answer isn't out there. It's right inside the question itself. Take a deep breath and let's explore what that really means. When life feels confusing, when decisions seem heavy, and when the path ahead looks uncertain, most people rush to seek advice from others. They turn to friends, mentors, books, or even random opinions on social media, hoping someone will hand them the missing piece of the puzzle. But true clarity rarely arrives from outside noise. It comes from within, through stillness, through honest reflection. The answers we desperately chase in the outer world are often waiting quietly inside our own thoughts, waiting for us to slow down long enough to hear them. Self-reflection is not about overthinking. It's about listening. It's about stepping back from the rush of emotions and viewing yourself from a higher, calmer place. When you pause long enough to ask yourself not just, what's happening to me, but what is this trying to teach me? Something powerful begins to shift. The confusion starts to thin out. You begin to see patterns, connections, and possibilities that weren't visible when your mind was clouded with fear or frustration. Reflection brings light into dark corners of the soul where answers often hide. Every problem we face has a message hidden inside it, but that message is only revealed when we reflect instead of react. It's not about blaming yourself or endlessly analyzing your mistakes. It's about understanding the meaning behind your experiences. Sometimes the reason we can't see the answer is because we're standing too close to the question. By stepping back, by giving ourselves the grace to breathe and think deeply, the bigger picture begins to unfold. It's as if the fog clears and what once felt complicated suddenly becomes simple, almost obvious. When you practice self-reflection consistently, you develop a sense of inner stability that no external chaos can shake. You begin to trust your instincts, your values, and your purpose. You stop rushing for approval or guidance from others because you start realizing that your soul already knows what's right for you. The quiet moments of reflection are where strength is rebuilt and direction is found. In that stillness, your mind aligns with your heart, and your doubts begin to dissolve into understanding. Clarity is not a gift you receive, it's a result you create through reflection. The deeper you look inward, the clearer your path becomes. Every question you ask is more than just a search for information. It's a reflection of who you are in that moment. The questions that rise from your heart and mind reveal your beliefs, your fears, your hopes, and your current level of understanding. When you ask, why can't I do this? It often mirrors a hidden doubt about your own strength. When you ask, how can I grow from this? It reflects faith, courage, and a willingness to evolve. The kind of questions you ask shape not only the answers you receive, but also the direction of your life. Life has a way of presenting us with circumstances that test our perspective. And in those moments, the questions we ask determine whether we spiral deeper into confusion or rise toward wisdom. If you keep asking, why is everything so hard for me? You'll only find evidence to confirm that belief. But if you shift your focus and ask, what is this difficulty trying to teach me? Your entire reality begins to change. The question becomes a mirror, showing you what kind of mindset you carry and how you choose to perceive the world. Questions are powerful because they expose the invisible conversation you're having with yourself. When you feel lost, the question you ask can either trap you in limitation or open a door to freedom. A mirror doesn't lie, it simply reflects what stands before it. Likewise, your questions reflect the truths you hold within. They show whether you're living in fear or faith, doubt or determination, weakness or wisdom. The moment you become aware of this reflection, you gain the ability to change it. You can begin to ask better, braver, and more meaningful questions, and life will start responding in kind. The mind naturally seeks to answer whatever question it's given. So if your inner dialogue is filled with self-doubt, your brain will keep finding reasons to justify that doubt. But when your questions come from a place of growth and strength, your mind begins to generate ideas, solutions, and hope. The secret is not to silence your questions, but to refine them, to make them mirrors that reflect your highest self, not your fears. Every time you ask a question, you're really holding up a mirror to your own soul, revealing what you truly believe about yourself and the world around you. There are moments in life when nothing seems to make sense. You try to move forward, but every direction feels uncertain. You question your decisions, your timing, even your purpose. This is the space of confusion, a fog that blurs your vision and drains your confidence. Yet, it's within this very fog that understanding quietly waits to emerge. Confusion isn't the end of clarity, it's the beginning of it. It's a signal that your mind is expanding, that something within you is preparing to grow. The key is not to run from confusion, but to sit with it, to let it speak, to let it guide you toward understanding. Understanding doesn't appear when we demand it. It unfolds when we're ready to receive it. Most people resist confusion because they associate it with failure or weakness. They feel lost and want instant answers. But confusion has a purpose. It breaks old patterns of thinking and pushes you to question what you've always believed. It's a mental storm that clears away outdated ideas so new wisdom can settle in. When you accept that confusion is part of the process, you stop fighting it and start learning from it. That's the moment when understanding begins to form. Think of confusion as a teacher disguised in uncertainty. Every unanswered question, every frustrating delay, every I don't know moment is an invitation to go deeper within yourself. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is this trying to show me? This simple shift changes everything. You stop feeling like a victim of your circumstances and begin to see yourself as a student of life. And when your perspective changes, the fog of confusion begins to thin. Slowly, insight appears, not as a loud revelation, but as a quiet knowing that feels right deep inside your soul. Understanding is born from patience. It comes to those who are willing to pause and observe instead of rushing for immediate solutions. When you learn to breathe through the confusion, to sit with your questions without fear, clarity naturally rises to the surface. The chaos that once felt overwhelming begins to organize itself into meaning. You start to see how every experience, even the painful ones, had a role in shaping your wisdom. The shift from confusion to understanding isn't a sudden leap. It's a gentle awakening that happens when you choose trust over panic, reflection over reaction, and stillness over struggle. There is a quiet voice within you that knows the truth long before your mind figures it out. It doesn't shout or demand attention, it whispers. It speaks through feelings, instincts, and subtle nudges that guide you toward what's right for you. This voice is your inner wisdom, a kind of sacred intelligence that connects you to something greater than logic or reason. Most people ignore it because it doesn't come with loud evidence or external validation. Yet every time you followed it, you felt a deep sense of peace, even if the decision didn't make sense to others. That's the power of inner wisdom. It leads you not where it's easiest, but where it's truest. In a world that constantly pushes noise, opinions, and advice into your mind, listening to your inner voice can feel like a lost art. We've been trained to look outward for direction, to compare, to copy, to seek approval before we move. But your greatest guidance system isn't out there. It's inside you, waiting patiently for your attention. When you silence the outer world for a moment, no phone, no distractions, no rushing, that inner wisdom starts to rise. It's not a magical force, it's the purest form of self-awareness, the part of you that knows what aligns with your purpose and what doesn't. Inner wisdom doesn't always tell you what you want to hear, but it always tells you what you need to know. Sometimes it guides you to let go of people who no longer serve your growth. Sometimes it urges you to take a risk when everything in your comfort zone says, stay still. And sometimes it simply reminds you to rest, to heal, to trust that timing has its own rhythm. The more you honor this voice, the stronger it becomes. The more you ignore it, the quieter it grows. But it never disappears. It waits patiently for you to remember it again. The beauty of inner wisdom is that it doesn't depend on anyone's approval. It isn't built from fear, ego, or pressure. It's born from truth. It connects you to your higher self, the part of you untouched by doubt or confusion. When you start to follow that wisdom, life begins to align in ways that logic can't explain. You find yourself in the right places, meeting the right people, and making decisions that feel guided rather than forced. That's when you realize the compass you were looking for was never lost. It was always within you. There are seasons in life when everything seems still, when you're praying, hoping, and working, yet nothing appears to move. Those are the moments that test your faith, the quiet spaces between effort and outcome where most people lose heart. But what we often fail to realize is that revelation, the deep understanding and clarity we seek, doesn't arrive on our schedule. It arrives on divine timing. Faith and patience are the two pillars that hold you steady until that moment comes. They are not passive virtues, they are acts of courage. Faith keeps your spirit strong when there is no proof. Patience keeps your heart calm when there is no progress. And together, they prepare you to receive the answers you've been seeking. When life delays something you deeply desire, it isn't always a punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. Faith reminds you to trust that what's meant for you is being arranged behind the scenes, even when you can't see it. Patience allows that arrangement to unfold naturally, without forcing outcomes or rushing timing. We live in a world that glorifies speed, where everything must happen now, where waiting feels like weakness. But spiritual growth doesn't operate on deadlines. It blooms in seasons of stillness, where your character is strengthened, your trust is refined, and your vision becomes clearer than before. Revelation, true, soul-deep understanding, doesn't come to the restless heart. It comes to the one who believes even when there's no visible sign to believe in. Faith says, I may not see the answer yet, but I know it exists. Patience whispers, I will keep walking, one step at a time until it's revealed. When you hold both together, something shifts inside you. You stop fighting the waiting period and start learning from it. You begin to see that the delay is not denial, it's direction. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every pause has meaning that only time can uncover. In the silence of waiting, your faith matures. It teaches you to listen more deeply, to depend less on what you can control and more on what you can trust. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, understanding begins to unfold. Revelation doesn't crash into your life. It arrives gently, like dawn breaking through darkness, illuminating everything that once confused you. What once felt like an unanswered question becomes a clear message. Faith and patience were not just the bridge to revelation, they were the revelation itself in disguise. Real growth doesn't happen when life is easy. It happens when you start looking inward instead of outward. Most people try to fix their lives by changing external circumstances, a new job, a new relationship, a new city, hoping that something out there will finally bring peace and fulfillment. But true transformation begins only when you pause and ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? Every challenge, disappointment, and setback is an invitation to turn inward and explore the deeper layers of your being. When you begin seeking within, you stop trying to escape life and start evolving through it. You realize that growth isn't about collecting experiences, it's about extracting wisdom from them. The greatest teachers in your life are not the people who hurt you or the situations that tested you. They are the reflections those experiences created inside you. When you look within, you begin to notice patterns, how you react, what triggers you, what you fear, and what you desire most. That self-awareness is the seed of real growth. You can't change what you don't understand, and you can't understand what you refuse to face. By turning inward, you start recognizing the hidden parts of yourself, your doubts, your strengths, your insecurities, your resilience, and each realization becomes a step toward maturity. Seeking within also requires honesty and humility. It's easy to point fingers at the world, to blame others for your unhappiness, or to believe that peace will arrive when life becomes perfect. But growth demands courage, the courage to look at your own thoughts and take responsibility for the energy you bring into your life. When you start seeing yourself clearly, you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You begin to live from a deeper truth, one that doesn't depend on external validation. The world outside might still be chaotic, but the world inside starts to find balance. Every season of your life, no matter how painful or uncertain, carries an opportunity to grow. But that growth can only bloom when you seek the answers within yourself. The more you explore your inner world, the more you understand that peace, clarity, and strength were never missing. They were simply waiting for your attention. The journey inward is not about finding something new, but about remembering who you truly are beneath all the noise, fear, and expectations. And once you begin that journey, every step you take becomes a step toward freedom, wisdom, and unshakable inner strength. The answers you seek aren't out there. They're within you. Every question, every struggle, every moment of doubt is guiding you back to your own wisdom. When you pause, reflect, and trust yourself, clarity unfolds naturally. Remember, every question carries its own answer, and it's been waiting inside you all along.